Wow, wow, wow. The Akimbo platform is so special and amazing. I was going to take the time to formally edit and polish this video, and we'll do that later on, but I wanted to get this out to you right now. I just had about a 19-minute interview with a gentleman by the name of David Dolan, and he talks about his experience in working in radio, his journey of the radio industry, then how he shifted from being a radio DJ and producer and etc. to then moving into more the entertainment industry, dealing with big record labels and radio stations and etc. Then he talked about his journey, how he wanted to make a skateboard component because he's a skateboarder. And he talks about how the Akimbo platform in particular, the small business workshop that I taught, how it helped him. David's in the US. He connected to a guy in Australia who pushed him, who nudged him to start his business. And now he's making money in his business, profitable. So it's just amazing. I've been so excited to serve and do the Akimbo platform. Definitely check out my small business workshop, bit.ly/small biz with Ramon. You can go right there and see the workshop, but it's just amazing. Check out this interview with David Dolan, and you'll hear me call him Dolan in the interview because that's the name he kind of prefers. So, but check it out. You'll be love his story, love to hear from him, and you'll see why possibly the Akimbo Small Business Workshop is for you. We open March 1st. But hey, no, this is Dolan. He was a member. He's a student of Akimbo and was kind enough to share some words and thoughts with us of his experience. But Dolan, I interrupted you rudely. I apologize. You were saying a little bit about your background in radio. Share that. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, I started off in radio back when I was living in Michigan, and it originally had started just as an interest. I was in college and I was an accounting major, and I wasn't doing good in the accounting classes, and so I had to take my credits and move it to a different field. And so I picked telecommunications, which at the time was telephony, telephone, IT, and radio and television. And then once you got into the program, you had to pick a subcategory. And so at the time, I just had an interest in radio, and had called up a station in the town where I was going to college. Had just changed from pop to alternative. And at the time, this was 91, 92. And alternative was a brand new format back then. There weren't a whole lot of alternative stations. So it was like this brand new concept. And so I just called up and was just annoying the DJ on the phone. And he invited me to come down and hang out. And, I just started doing stuff around the station. And then that led to doing stuff at live remotes. That just led to an internship, and which led to my first full-time position in radio before I had graduated. And so I got hired as a morning show producer for a rock station. And then that morning show ended up going across the street to a competitor. And from there, it just sort of snowballed. So, morning show producer led to I would produce the morning show in the morning. And in the afternoons, I'd work with the engineering department for the other stations in the cluster. And so that led to getting hired down in Texas, moving down to Texas, being unemployed in Texas, and then transitioning from radio to music industry. I worked for a promotional music subscription service, and I did that for just shy of 18 years until they decided to shut the service down. And so here I am now.
I love it. And when you say promotional, what's the word you used again? Promotional what?
Promotional music subscription service.
For the consumer, meaning I pay a fee where I can get music or something, or no, like that? Or
it's for professionals. So it's for radio stations, it's for mobile DJs,
okay.
It's for clubs.
Got it.
It would be, I was an intermediary to the record label. So I would go to Warner Brothers.
Got it.
And I would deal with all the record reps and get all the latest singles for all the artists and all the music genres. And then we would take those singles, divide them up by the music genre, and then distribute them to our subscribers.
Nice.
So, a lot of markets, unless you're in like the top probably 50 markets or even smaller than that, or higher than that, don't deal directly with the record labels. The record labels don't have the time and resources to call every radio station in America and promote their music. And so we were a service helping the record labels to further distribute their songs.
I love that. It's amazing, Dolan, how there's a service for everything. I mean, if you're in the nursing home business, the water bottle making business, the plant, everything has a service. So I think that's just amazing. But listen, I'm curious, and then what led you to Akimbo? How did that journey connect from radio to entertainment and music, what you were doing there? And finally, you and I are together today via Akimbo. How did that story come along, and why did you decide to, hey, you know what, let me sign up and see what I can learn through the Akimbo platform?
That actually started with my girlfriend. She's a professional photographer and
Okay.
she's a freelancer. And she took Seth's freelancers workshop. She actually took it several times. She got so much out of it the first time
Wow.
that I think she took it twice more after that. And then she also took one of his marketing workshops. And she was just a huge fan of the Akimbo platform and just the workshops and the way that you you do that, you follow along with the prompt, but then you're getting more out of the other people in your workshop, your classmates.
Yes.
And the more that you give, the more that you actually receive. So it's not like traditional learning where you read a book and you follow examples and, here's A, B, and C, what you need to do to be successful.
Right.
It's like, here's some thoughts, or here's something to think about and see how it applies to your business. And then you tell the class about it, they tell you about what they're working on, and then there's interaction, there's feedback, there's pushback. Even people will
Yes.
call you out if
Right.
you're taking a shortcut, or if you're not being honest with yourself. They'll say, are you really sure that that's the case, or do you maybe want to dig a little deeper? And like when you try to get information or feedback from friends and family, they don't want to hurt your feelings, or sometimes they don't want to be completely honest with you. They just want to tell you you're doing a great job and be a positive motivating factor. But that's not always helpful. Like you need to be called out sometimes. And that was one of the things I experienced in the workshop. Was when I started off, I didn't really want to tell everybody what I was working on, because I had placed an order for my product to be produced, but I didn't have it yet. I hadn't launched a website. I didn't have a shop. And, honestly, I was scared that someone would come along, see my idea, and then run with it and do a better job. And, it'd just be like one of those things where, for the rest of my life, it's like, well, what could have happened if I would have kept my mouth shut? If I had been successful with this, where would it have led to? And just so after a few weeks of saying, well, I can't really talk about what I'm working on, but here's kind of like a vague idea of it. I had somebody, I'm trying to remember, I think he was in Australia or New Zealand, or he was on the other side of the world, and he basically said, I challenge you to just tell us what you're working on.
Wow.
That no one's going to steal your idea, that you're already further along than anybody else could be. And, while it might be a great idea, is it really going to motivate somebody who has nothing to do with that industry to just all of a sudden drop what they're doing, pick up your idea and run with it? And so that made sense. And
you were like, oh, you know what? He's right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was a good moment. That helped me out. And, it freed me up to be a little more honest with what I was working on. And then that actually freed me up. So the industry I went into was the skateboard and roller skate industry.
Okay.
I came up with a custom axle nut, which is the axle nut holds your wheels onto your axles, which connects to your skates or your skateboard. And so one day at the skate park, because I skateboard and my girlfriend roller skates, that was kind of the impetus for coming up with the idea. There was a guy that I'd met at the skate park who just kind of like said hi and waved, and just had very cursory conversations, nothing in depth. And one day he sat down, on the bench, 6 feet away, but he was within speaking distance, and just said, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And just I'm not exactly sure why, but I just decided to tell him about my idea. And I was still waiting on the product, and I still didn't feel safe, but I went ahead and took that chance. And he ended up being my first customer. So when I did launch the product, he placed the first order, and things have been good since then. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm doing well. I've been able to pay for some Facebook ads, and I'm making more than I'm spending. So things are going well. And it all started with a conversation with my girlfriend, which led to Akimbo, which led to me putting in the work, and now I'm seeing the results.
Wow. There's nothing else to say. I could just click end right now. Dylan, thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's amazing to find the journey to being an entrepreneur or a small business owner or freelancer. The term in this discussion doesn't matter so much. It matters, but you're making money. You're selling something at a profit. And it sounds like you're doing what you love. Is that fair to say that you're enjoying it?
I'm enjoying working for myself, and that was really why I started this. Was that, after working in corporations for most of my adult life, and not having a whole lot to show for it except for my measly 401k,
Yeah.
when they made the decision, well, we don't think we want to sell this product anymore. Thanks for coming. And it's like, well, I just put in 18 years. You don't have another place for me in the company. I mean, you talk about how great my work ethic is, what a great employee I am, how people like working with me and being around me. But all of a sudden now I've reached a plateau where I'm making more than someone coming into the industry that you can just hire and mold to however you want.
Yes.
So, looking at that, it was just kind of like, I need to be working for myself. I need to come up with an idea. And so I've just been waiting on an idea. And this was my first idea. And I'm sort of looking at it as, this isn't my last idea. This is just how I'm launching this part of my life, my part of my work history or my entrepreneurship. So,
I love it.
the mistakes will be made, and I'm not afraid of them. They're going to happen because I watch what other successful people do, and they all have to go through the same roadblocks. They have to make the same mistake, basically find where the mines are buried, and you just adapt and move on. So
I love
that's
it.
just how I'm taking it.
I can't wait to read your book. Dylan, I'm so glad for your time. And I think two or three more questions. What would you say to those who are hesitant about Akimbo? And I want to talk about so much. I want to talk about your business, but I want to focus a conversation for those, who maybe like your girlfriend before she signed on, you before you signed on, and you've said it already. But just to recap that, what would you say to those who are like, I'm not sure? Because there are so many places to learn, so many places to be educated. So what would you say to those who are like, I've seen Akimbo many times. I'm not sure if it's worth it, not sure if it's worth the investment. What would you tell them?
I would say that if you're at that stage where you're on the fence, just go ahead and take the leap, because I mean it's going to be a different way of learning than you're used to, and you're going to get so much out of it depending on how much you put into it. And once the workshop's over, there's forward links, so there's this platform for all the alumni, so you can continue to meet even new people and carry on the conversations. And there's no subscription fee for that. That's an added bonus for being an alumni.
Yeah.
So I think if you're at this point where you're still, as long as you're still considering it, really what's holding you back. I mean, you kind of want to do it. So like, I'm not sure what it would take to push you over the edge, but it's kind of like you're looking for a reason if you're still watching videos and still following along.
If you're watching this, Dylan's saying, here's your reason.
Yeah. I'm telling you, just go for it.
Yes. And I think the last question, but I'm happy if anything I didn't ask you if you want to share, but did you take small business workshop in particular? Did you take that one, the one I taught as well, or no?
Yes.
Okay, good.
No, I was in your group.
Great. And so Dylan, tell us about that in particular? And it may be an echo from what you've already said about Akimbo overall, but anything particular that you want to tell the small business owners, those who are starting or those who may be seasoned, what you got, the benefit, why they should maybe consider Akimbo's small business workshop?
So my particular business is very small. My item is a price point of $12. I've got two products. The main product is $12. I cut that product in half for a different market, and that's a $7 product.
Okay.
So I am very small. I'm a very small business owner. I have one employee. That's myself. I try to do as much as I can, and just because I don't have the budget to farm it out to other people.
Not yet.
So not yet. That's true. Good point. Not yet. So, I mean, the workshop really works for people all along the spectrum of it. I would call them an independent business owner.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter what the size and scope of what you're doing is. It's going to apply to you in some way. And the prompts are written in such a way that they make you think about how it applies to you. And then that helps you personally. And then you get feedback from other people in the workshop. And there's people, all walks of life, all different countries, all different ethnic backgrounds, and they've all got something different to add. So, while I'm here in the United States, I was talking to people from Norway and people from, different parts of Asia and Australia. And they have different ways of thinking. They have different life experiences, and it helps me with my business to look at it from different angles, not just the angle that I'm used to, because I'm not necessarily my customer.
Yes.
I just happen to be the person who has the idea and is trying to get it out there to the public. So, it really doesn't matter, again, where on the spectrum you lie for being in a small business. This will in some way apply to you, because you'll take that prompt and you'll apply it to your business.
I love it. Listen, Dolan, thank you so much. And by the way, if you don't mind, if you're prepared, if you have a website or something, feel free to give yourself a self promo if you're ready for it. Your name, your website, who you're looking for. If you're ready, if you want to, please.
I don't know that it applies because I'm so niche. Right now, I just have the Etsy
You never
shop.
know.
I just have the Etsy shop,
Okay.
which is Define Upgrades.
Okay.
So if you go on Etsy and look at Define Upgrades, you'll see my skateboard and roller skate, custom axle nuts. Still working on building out a website. Trying to figure out what platform I want to use for sales. So,
okay,
a little bit at a time.
It does apply. You never know who's listening, but
that's true. That's true.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. And once again, my name is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com, and I've been privileged and honored to be a teacher on the Akimbo platform teaching the small business workshop.